Have you ever heard this before? If you stay silent long enough, they'll start to miss you. No texts, no calls, no showing up. And somehow that silence is supposed to give you control again. It sounds right. It even sounds powerful. But let's be honest for a moment. Most people don't become stronger in silence. They're just waiting. Waiting for a message, waiting for a sign, waiting for the other person to come back. And while they believe they're taking the higher position, they're still stuck inside their own emotions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. So if your silence is just a way to make someone miss you, you're still giving them the power." Because the truth is, silence can be forgotten. But there's something else. Something that doesn't just make them remember you, it makes them realize they can no longer reach you. And that's where everything truly begins to change. The problem is, we're living in a time where emotions have been turned into strategy. People don't walk away to heal anymore, they walk away to create an effect. They don't reply to make someone anxious. They keep their distance to make the other person think. And over time, no contact stops being a decision for yourself and becomes a way to control someone else's reaction. But there's a truth most people don't want to face. When you stay silent just to make them miss you, you're still putting them at the center. You haven't really moved on, you've just paused, waiting for a sign that they'll come back. And during that time, your life doesn't move forward. It quietly revolves around someone who is no longer there. So the real question isn't whether silence will make them miss you. It's this: within that silence, who are you becoming? Because that's where everything truly begins to change. 1. The illusion of no contact. We call it no contact, as if disappearing is enough to take back control. But if you look closely, most people don't actually leave, they just change the way they stay. They don't text, but they keep checking their phone. They don't call, but they replay conversations in their head. They don't show up yet, that person still takes up almost all of their mental space. That isn't freedom. It's dependency, wearing a different shape. Epictetus once said that what disturbs us is not what happens, but how we interpret it. And silence, if it's used to trigger a reaction from someone else, isn't strength. It's just a pause, a prolonged waiting disguised as control. You may think you're in control of the situation, but if your emotional state still depends on whether they come back or not, then that control was never really yours. The uncomfortable truth is simple: you can't make someone miss you by disappearing. People don't just adapt to absence, they learn to explain it in ways that protect themselves. So if your silence still carries expectation, you haven't truly walked away. 2. Silence without growth is just waiting. Silence on its own doesn't mean anything, but we give it far more power than it actually has. We assume that stepping back, disappearing, saying nothing, will somehow make things change on their own. But the truth is, silence is just space, and that space will always be filled by one of two things: growth or waiting. The problem is, most people don't use that time to change. They keep the same habits, think about the same person, replay the same conversations that have already ended. On the outside, they look quiet, but on the inside, nothing is really moving. And that's why silence doesn't create strength. Because if you don't change, you're not moving forward, you're just standing still inside a prolonged delay. You haven't progressed, but you also haven't truly left. Look closer, and you'll see there are two kinds of silence. One slowly weakens you over time because you're waiting for something from someone else. The other makes you stronger because you're rebuilding yourself within that silence. And the difference isn't whether you speak or not. It's who you are becoming while you stay silent. 3. What hurts more than silence? What truly affects someone isn't the moment you stop talking to them. What makes them pause, what forces them to rethink everything, is when they realize that while you were silent, you changed. You don't react the way you used to. You don't check your phone every time it lights up. You're no longer pulled into the same emotional patterns they once had easy access to. And most importantly, you no longer need them to feel whole. Seneca once said, "We don't lack time, we waste it." And while most people use silence to wait, you can use that same time to rebuild yourself slowly but genuinely. Real change doesn't happen the moment you walk away. It happens when you become someone they no longer understand. When the way you think, the way you respond, and the way you live no longer resemble who you used to be. And that's when everything shifts. Because the pain doesn't come from losing you. It comes from realizing they no longer have access to who you've become. 4. They don't lose you, they lose access to you. What people struggle to accept isn't that you left. Over time, anyone can adjust to absence. What truly feels like a loss is realizing they no longer have access to you the way they used to. Before they knew how to trigger a reaction, a short message could stay in your mind all day. A moment of silence could make you anxious. They could reach your emotions almost any time and you would respond. But when you change, that disappears. Not because you're trying to act cold, but because you're no longer pulled into the same old patterns. You see things more clearly, more slowly, with enough distance to choose how you respond instead of reacting automatically. And that distance changes everything. You're still there. You haven't disappeared, but you're no longer open to them in the same way, not as accessible, not as easy to influence, not someone they can return to without resistance. And that's the shift they feel. They didn't lose you. They lost access to your world. 5. The Stoic path, emotional independence. In the end, none of this is about making someone regret losing you. If your focus is still on their reaction, you're not free yet. The Stoic path was never about controlling others, it's about no longer being controlled by them. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that you have power over your mind, not over external events. And when you truly understand that something shifts, you stop reacting out of habit, and you start choosing how you respond. You don't need to act cold to prove you're strong. You just need enough clarity to stop being pulled into what no longer aligns with you. It's not that you lose your emotions, you simply stop letting them decide everything. That's when your way of living begins to change. You don't wait for someone to return to feel complete. You don't need them to change for you to feel at peace. You can still care, still connect, but without dependence. And when you reach that point, something interesting happens. You no longer need them to regret leaving, because you no longer need them to come back. When you step back and look at the whole picture, one thing becomes clear. The issue was never whether you should stay silent or not. It was always about the reason behind that silence. If you stay silent to make someone miss you, you're still living in a dynamic where they are the center. Every action you take, no matter how strong it appears, still revolves around what they think, how they feel, and whether they'll come back. But when you begin to change, everything shifts in a different direction. You're no longer silent to create an effect. You're silent because you have nothing left to prove. You're no longer trying to be seen. You start living in alignment with what actually matters to you. And that's where real power appears. Not the kind of power that makes someone regret losing you, but the kind that makes you no longer need that regret. Not a victory because they return, but a victory because you've moved far enough that you no longer need them in your story. That isn't loss, that's growth. Maybe somewhere in this story, you saw yourself. Maybe you've waited for a message that never came. Checked your phone more times than you'd like to admit. Asked yourself, what did I do wrong? But the truth is, not every relationship ends because you weren't enough. Sometimes it ends so you can see where you lost yourself along the way. And if you're in that silence right now, don't rush to fill it with someone else's attention. Don't try to prove anything. Don't chase an answer they may not even have for you. Use this time to rebuild yourself, slowly, quietly, without needing recognition. Because one day you'll look back and realize you're no longer the person who was hurt by these things. And that's when something simple becomes clear. Real power isn't about who misses you, it's about who you became after they left. If you made it this far, leave a comment. My growth is my silent revenge. And if you want to keep building a stronger inner life day by day, stay.